Part Podcast. This is going to be the Batman spoiler-free review. No spoilers at all on this one. It just came out, so we definitely want to give you guys a chance to go out and check it out. But I saw it yesterday, so just wanted to jump on here and give my initial thoughts. And our spoiler review will be posting next week. Jess is going to see this in the next day or so. In short, I love this movie. I've only seen it once now, but I'm definitely going to be seeing it again soon. I love this movie. As far as a Batman movie goes, this is probably the most accurate. Like, it felt like it's like the comic or the animated series, translating onto the real, into live action. This is probably the most kind of accurate to Batman that we have seen to date. And the world that they build with the Gotham that they build is more so similar to the Gotham that we saw in the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. And it, you could just feel the sense of the city. The world building that they did in here was great. So this is the first movie. I think they've now since announced that this is going to be a trilogy, but it's not an origin movie. It's not like we don't see how, in the previous Batman movies about, the parents getting murdered and then, him being a young boy and stuff like that. This isn't an origin movie. We jump into that he's already been Batman for a couple years now. So he's still relatively new to the role, but he's still figuring it out. It's more so kind of like how in Spider-Man Homecoming, where we don't see the, Uncle Ben die. We don't see the spider bite or anything like that, but it does pick up where he's still learning how to become Spider-Man. So we see Bruce, a young Bruce. I think he's like in his late 20s or early 30s here, and he's been Batman for 2 years now. So he already has a reputation with the public and also the criminals. We get this in the early part of the movie, and he already has a working, good relationship with Gordon as well. And let's just talk a little bit about the characters, man. Let's address the elephant in the room first. Robert Pattinson, when he got announced that he was going to be the next Batman, people love to get on social media and the internet and stuff, and then, oh, the Twilight guy, blah, 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 blah. And that was over 10 years ago. He's done so much. He's grown so much as an actor, and, the performances that he's had, the movies that he's made since then. So it's really unfair to pigeonhole him to that. And my God, his performance in this as Batman, it's right up there with, some of the other best. If you were to say he's the best, I would, definitely hear you out. His look, I remember people were talking about, is he too slender? He's not bulking up enough and stuff like that. None of that's an issue here. He looks intimidating as hell in that costume. And the suit looks really good. It seems more like a functional, realistic suit. And we get to see him utilize some of the tech in here. Not everything, but we do see some of the stuff. And then some stuff that we see in here is we've never seen kind of Batman utilize it before. So, that was exciting too, to see how they, work that in. And, he's just very intimidating. He really strikes fear into everybody. He's known as the world's greatest detective. We get a lot of detective, work in this movie here. And that's what, it felt so much like, it felt so accurate and true to the character. Whereas, in the previous Batman movies, I think like in the Nolan ones, we see a little bit of that. We see some of that, but not so much. Like, it's a 3-hour movie, and the amount of him just kind of, him actively being at crime scenes, working with, with Gordon and stuff like that. And, I really like those interactions back and forth. And again, just seeing him be like a true like detective was awesome. His fighting, I know when the trailers came out, some people were saying like, oh man, we're going back to how Christian Bale, people were dragging Christian Bale's fighting style a little bit, but it was a very boxy, kind of like, movements like woof, woof, woof. People were saying that like, hey, it looks like his fighting style is similar to that. It's not. His fighting style looked fluid, it looked nice. He's brutal as fuck. And then they do something in here with the fighting, and stuff, which I don't want it to be a spoiler. So, I'll include that in the spoiler review, but I really got a kick out of that. So, getting to see that. We really don't see much of his Bruce Wayne. We get to see some, like, I think he only has like a few scenes where he's playing Bruce, and it's, I know the comments were coming about a emo Bruce Wayne and stuff like that. Yes, he does have the long hair and stuff like that, but again, I don't think we see that much of his Bruce in here. There's only just a few really scenes that we get to see it, and you know we see a lot of the Batman. So I think we'll see more of his Bruce in the coming movies in this trilogy. So again, Robert Pattinson did an amazing job as the Batman. He was completely believable, and his Batman voice was good too. It wasn't over the top or anything like that. The suit looks nice, man, and the fucking Batmobile. I'm gonna just leave it at that. The fucking Batmobile. Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle, Catwoman. She again. This isn't an origin story, so she's already doing her thing. And she does a really good job as well. I just got to say, this movie was perfectly cast. All of the people that all of the main characters and supporting characters in here absolutely crush, absolutely crush. Zoe Kravitz is one of them. Um, the chemistry that she has with Batman is really good. She's a badass. You know, I like that this was a 3 hour movie, so it really got to flush characters out, and it wasn't rushed and not giving people backstories. Like, she's not the main character here, but they do a good job of intertwining her story, giving her backstory, and then growing her character as well, and her fighting and stuff like that was awesome too. She looked great, and then she did a really good job with her performance as well. Paul Dano, the Riddler. Um, no offense, Jim Carrey, but this was a more realistic Riddler, more grounded, kind of real world kind of example. He was more so similar to the Zodiac killer, because he was leaving behind like cryptic messages and stuff like that. Kind of toying with the cops, toying with Batman, and I just like that how, it's the Riddler. He's got to be the smartest guy and have things planned out meticulously, and have a long overall plan, and kind of playing everybody as a pawn in his plan. And I thought Paul Dano did a good job. Just subtle things like with his breathing that he would do, and there, that put a good touch onto it. His outfit looked pretty cool too. Again, it was a more grounded kind of realistic type, and like any bad guy, like any good bad guy, they have to have a motive. And he's not just being bad for the sake of being bad, and he definitely did. They do kind of explain that with his performance a little bit towards the end of the movie. It did, he does a couple things performance wise that I didn't think were the best, but hey, overall I thought his performance was good too. And he was creepy, he was scary and intimidating as well. And again, no offense, Jim Carrey, but I think this was the best live screen portrayal of the Riddler that we've gotten so far. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, holy shit, dude. Holy shit, does he crush. It looks nothing like Colin Farrell. So the makeup department, the costume department did a great job. His voice, nothing about this person looks or sounds or he completely changes and transforms into the Penguin. And again, a more grounded, realistic, not like the Danny DeVito fish eating penguin. God, just thinking about that. But this mafioso gangster type, which he does a great job of. This movie is, more darker and more bleak, and the comedy or the comic relief is few and far in between. But he has some of the moments in the movie that actually made me laugh. And again, I his performance was just amazing. He has limited screen time, but when he's on there, he kind of steals the scenes. And then seeing his back and forths that he has with Batman and with some of the other characters was really good too. And I am very excited to see more of Colin Farrell's Penguin moving forward. Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. again, I love the working relationship that he had with Bruce. I think it's tough to compare or to see if how accurate this is, but I think Gordon and Batman probably have the most screen time in this movie compared to like any other movies in the past with Gordon and Batman. Again, I'm just kind of talking out of my ass when I say that, but it just seemed like it because they had a lot of scenes together, and it really is a mutual. They have a mutual respect with each other, and it's a good professional kind of like working relationship they have. And again, they don't explain how that started or whenever. It's we've jumped into 2 years, and they've been working together. Andy Serkis as Alfred, I think he's probably the youngest Alfred we've gotten, and it's not like this usual relationship that we get with Bruce and Alfred where they're more buddy buddy. It's not so much so in here. Again, he kind of has a limited role in this one, and again, looking forward to what he brings moving forward. Overall, man, I've said this multiple times. This movie was perfectly cast. Everyone absolutely crushes their roles. The story was really good. The way that they had everything laid out and how it's like a mystery crime noir. The cinematography is beautiful. It's beautifully shot. Um, it does have a 3 hour runtime. Again, for me, I'm a huge Batman fan, so it flows. It felt like 2 hours for me, but if somebody's not that big of a Batman fan, I could feel that they could have a complaint about it being a little slow at times and maybe dragging out just a bit. But again, for myself, I didn't have those complaints. But if you were to tell me that, I definitely would, hear you out for that. The way that they just kind of tell everybody stories over and telling the story overall was really good. And then, Batman or Bruce is still figuring out exactly what he's doing and how he should be carrying out the things that he's carrying out. And that's really what the overall kind of story here is. And man, this was just a great addition to the Batman universe that we've had. And again, we'll have more to say when we come out with our spoiler review. I highly, highly recommend this. If you can, watch it in IMAX. I watched it in Dolby IMAX, and it was just beautiful on there. It's a beautiful looking movie, and I highly recommend it. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time.